Somehow, I doubt I'm even supposed to be here. Heat from fire, fire from heat.
I will put that phrase into the queer mainstream conscience again. And yet another very hot summer, it's time for another season of Gay Anime Spotlight. Starting with our returning segment, Rewind to Gay, where we talk about a queer character from a returning show and how they might be done in this new material. And that would be Honoka, from Horimiya, The Missing Pieces. Previously in Horimiya, the cast believed that Honoka was following Miyamura around because she liked him and was jealous of Hori. Turns out that wasn't exactly correct, as it was Hori that Honoka liked instead.
Plot twist!
From then on, Honoka always liked to follow Hori around and hug her without consent, taking advantage of the fact that they're both girls, which isn't the best. We later learned that Honoka had a fear of men, except for her older brother that died a year prior. Miyamura ends up reminding Honoka of him, and the two of them develop a sweet brother-sister relationship, with Miyamura trying to help Honoka be less fearful around men. So the original Horimiya anime went through the entire events of the manga, skipping a lot of material and giving it some pacing issues and a lack of characterization. Hori definitely suffering the most of this. Well, with the popularity of the first season, it seems that Cloverworks has decided to go back and adapt a bunch of stories that they initially decided to skip. Kinda confusing, but whatever. So hopefully we'll get more scenes of Honoka because of this, with us seeing her in the third episode during the sports festival, wanting to look cool in front of Hori and liking being cheered on by Miyamura. Here's hoping that Honoka gets more stories in the side season that will develop her more than just having a one-sided crush on Hori. And now let's quickly go over the current season of anime with Kaoru, from The Gene of AI, a show about humanoids being 10% of the world population and deals with themes of identity, humanity, and the soul. I love stories like these, like Time of Eve for example. That's a criminally underrated movie. So with the theme of identity, I wondered if any queer characters would appear, and one did in episode 2. Kaoru is an old colleague of main character Pseudo, having worked together in a special lab before he became a doctor. When Pseudo shows Riza an old photo of them, she discovers that they look very different. When asked whether Kaoru is a man or a woman, Pseudo tells her that Kaoru would probably say neither. He says that Kaoru is someone who wishes to break away from the notion of gender and labels. Earlier in the episode, Kaoru expressed liking breasts because of the looks they get from men because of them. I do wish that this trans femme non-binary character wasn't introduced with groping gags, but whatever. Seeing how Kaoru has connections to Pseudo's past, works with an AI that Pseudo is interested in, and isn't a one-off character, I'm sure we'll see them in the anime again soon. First off, let's see how the relationships of the cafe girls have progressed in Yuri Is My Job. We'll start off again with the main relationship of Hime and Mitsuki, with Hime just realizing that Mitsuki is the same girl who outed Hime's facade back in grade school. Through flashback, we learn that Hime befriended Mitsuki despite Mitsuki being an outcast and a shy girl, with Mitsuki being the only one to learn about Hime's facade personality. But while Hime eventually decided to put some distance between the two of them so that the other girls in class wouldn't bully Mitsuki anymore, Mitsuki takes this as Hime lying about their friendship the entire time, thus her getting angry enough to out Hime's facade to everyone, with Hime having no friends for the rest of grade school after Mitsuki moved away. In the present, after a long time of characters simply not talking to each other and have no idea about the concept of communication, Hime and Mitsuki are able to reconcile their past troubles and have a more steady relationship in the cafe as sisters. And despite Mitsuki's tsundere-ness, the last episode definitely shows that she has real feelings for Hime. This moves into the second half of the season, which focuses on Kanako and Sumika. Previously, we've seen that Kanako is in love with Hime, though denies it to herself. Through flashback, we learned that Kanako was a quiet girl in middle school who didn't want to be like everyone else. Hime was able to see through her disguise and actually managed to help her through some of her troubles. This is what started their friendship and began Kanako's secret crush on Hime. In the present, Kanako starts to present qualities of the predatory lesbian trope. She gets extremely jealous of Hime and Mitsuki's more closeness. She has tons and tons of pictures of Hime on her phone and gets a bit too close to her when Hime is asleep. Sumika, who is the best character in the anime by the way, learns about Kanako's love for Hime. She confronts her about this, wanting Kanako to forget her crush, not wanting romance to ruin the cafe again. Through flashback, we learned that at the beginning of the cafe, the three students were Sumika, Mai, and Nene, the silver-haired girl who's currently the cook, with Sumika and Nene being Western sisters. Soon though, an older girl named Yoko joined the cafe, becoming very close to Nene. And unlike the fake sister relationships in front of the customers, Nene and Yoko entered into an actual relationship behind the scenes, with only Sumika learning about it. Eventually, Nene quit being sisters with Sumika and instead became Western with Yoko instead. Eventually though, Yoko left the cafe and Nene as well, as it appears that Yoko didn't have any true feelings towards Nene and was only fooling around and having fun. This broke Nene, who stopped being a student at the cafe but stayed as the cook. In the present, Sumika doesn't want Kaneko to pursue her feelings towards Nene, thinking that it might break up the cafe again. In response, Kaneko wants either her or Sumika to become Blume, and make a rule that will end the Western Sisters system. This creates a bigger divide between Kaneko and Sumika. But in a nice conversation with Nene, who tells Sumika that she shouldn't try to keep the cafe together like she did in the past. No matter what, they'll all stay together. And despite the pain that it caused her, she doesn't regret falling in love with Yoko. So Sumika, again, finally, decides to have a conversation with Kaneko and communicate with her, learning that Kaneko will never admit her feelings towards Hime in fear of being rejected, as Hime denies everyone's romantic advances in order to keep up her facade. Sumika allowing her to be the one that Kaneko can turn to in times like this, and will be the shoulder for her to cry on. This allows Kaneko to start to be more open to other people, as noted by Hime. In the end, Kaneko reluctantly becomes sisters with Sumika as things go back to normal in the cafe once again. I suppose my only complaint with Yuri is My Job is that since it only adapts the first part of the original manga, none of the relationships set up don't go anywhere beyond friendship and sisters in the cafe. I'm sure that it happens later on in the story's run, so hopefully our cafe girls will get a second season in order to advance their relationships in more romantic ways. Next, let's catch up with everyone's favorite anime aunt, Nao, from Skip and Loafer. While Nao is happy that her niece, Mitsumi, is enjoying her Tokyo life and making new friends, she gets worried when Mitsumi continues to mention a boy named Shima, believing him to be just some delinquent that will take advantage of her dear innocent niece. So when Mitsumi and Shima go to the zoo together, Nao decides to follow them in disguise to keep an eye on them. But she eventually decides to leave when she discovers that Shima ain't that bad of a guy. While there, she comes across one of Mitsumi's friends, Mika, who also decided to follow them. While introducing herself as Mitsumi's uncle at first, Nao eventually reveals herself to Mika as Mitsumi's aunt instead. Mika, while confused at first, quickly accepts Nao for who she is, which continues Skip and Loafer being an anime where people are accepted for who they are, regardless of being different from others. This extends to Mitsumi's other friends as well, when they all get together at Mitsumi's place for a sleepover. During this time, Nao comes to understand Mika a bit more, seeing her as someone who, despite her outward appearance and accomplishments, is someone who lacks confidence and fears getting hurt, something that she finds to be all too familiar. I'm told that this relates to Nao's past, which is revealed later in the manga that the anime didn't get to, so hopefully the anime will get a second season so that we'll get to see anime. But anyway, from this point on, Mika seems to go to Nao for advice whenever she needs it, asking Mitsumi if Nao will visit the cultural festival. Nao is such a good character, offering guidance to those who need it like Mitsumi and Mika. She's also a great trans representation in how matter-of-fact she is in the anime, with all the characters accepting who she is. Again, I hope that Skip and Loafer gets another season, so that I can see more of this amazing aunt. Next up is Francois, from Dr. Stone Season 3. When Senku and the Kingdom of Science need long-lasting food for their overseas expedition and fail to make good-tasting bread, Ryusui recommends their butler from before the petrification. This is Francois, who they quickly break out of the stone. Due to their androgynous appearance, everyone's confused about Francois' gender. Ryusui himself says that he doesn't know, despite growing up together. When questioned about this, Ryusui says that it doesn't matter what gender Francois is, it only matters how good of a butler and chef they are. Following this, all the characters refer to Francois with they-them pronouns. And with their butler outfit and blonde hair, the character gave me major Oscar vibes, which I really like. And now thanks to Francois, the Kingdom of Science have a long-lasting and good-tasting food. I especially love the episode that Francois has with Suika. It's really cute. They join a majority of the characters on the trip, and is also one of the characters that get petrified by the enemy. But as seen at the end of the season, Senku and the others have obtained platinum that will allow them to save everyone on the boat. So we'll have to wait to see for the continuation in the fall season to see Francois revived and how they'll help defeat the Kingdom of Science's enemies on Treasure Island. Based on a manga written by Ryoga Narita, a light novel author who wrote Baccano and Durarara, which I really love, let's talk about Clarissa from Dead Mount Deathplay. Clarissa runs an underground bar where she has a bunch of big-breasted waitresses working for her. But in secret, Clarissa and the other waitresses are a secret assassin organization, using their services to those who would hire them. Like when Clarissa sent Mitsuki to kill Polka, though the person who gave them this job is unknown at this point. Where the queerness comes in is that in episode 3, while talking about Polka and the recent activity in Shinjuku, Clarissa is getting a massage from 2 of her waitresses' assassins, all 3 of them in their underwear. Now you may be wondering, are they doing the same thing in the manga?
Yeah, no. Oh, no.
Nah, the three of them are straight up banging. It's surprisingly explicit for a manga like this. The same thing happens in episode 8 where the three of them are in a bathtub together, though the show does make things more clearer for anime-only watchers. So far, Kurisa and her assassin group are mostly in the background, giving Polka a base of operations and reacting to the recent going-ons in Shinjuku, like during the Lemmings attack at the bar. She definitely has connections throughout the city, like with the deceased detective whose soul is currently inhabiting the pen that Polka's group has, and she talks about how all of these connections could be useful to her and the others in the future. And besides, Narita is a type of writer that likes to have a bunch of things develop in the background that he can bring into focus at a later point. With the second season of the anime coming soon in the fall season, we'll see if Kurisa and her harem of assassins will get any more to do. Now for a quick one, let's talk about twins Violet and Jasmine St. George from the Ancient Magus Bride Season 2. Out of the many new characters introduced at Chisei's new college environment, we have these two cross-dressing twins. Violet, the male twin, likes to express himself more femininely, like with his long hair and women's uniform, while Jasmine, the female twin, expresses herself more masculinely, like with her short hair and men's uniform. As they aren't a part of Chisei's friend group, we haven't seen them too much. The most is at the end of episode 5 when Rian scolds Jasmine for telling Chisei about the Webster incident, since a lot of the conflict of the season has to do with all these families' dramas. Violet soon arrives to comfort his sister, saying that if they wanted to, they could become mages like Chisei, instead of being stuck to this current life that their family has forced upon them. This scene showing the closeness between the two siblings and hints of something deeper going on in their lives. And with the second half of the season arriving in the fall, we'll have to see if this backstory is revealed to us then. And lastly, for a big surprise, let's talk about the development of Kano Inaga from the 4th season of Golden Kamui. Previously on, Kano was first introduced in the first season as one of the tattooed criminals that Sugimoto and the group were after. She is a transgender woman who is a cannibal, as she believes that by eating a certain part of a woman's body, she can gain said part of her body. It's a pretty bad stereotype of a transgender woman, but thankfully she's mostly been in the background as a healer since then. That all changed in this recent 4th season when she surprisingly got some development. While taking care of Incarmat, who is currently pregnant with Tanagaki's child, Kano talks about how she once sought to be just like her mother, believing that when she was pregnant, she was perfect, the prime of a woman's body, something that she as a transgender woman can never be, which is actually kind of deep as it's what lots of real-world transgender women go through in not being able to be pregnant with a child. Though Kano's mother tripped down some stairs and had a miscarriage, so Kano was never able to see her mother at her true perfection, with a baby in her arm. Later when Tanagaki tries to rescue Incarmat and Tsukishima attempts to stop him, Kano is able to sedate him, but gets shot and soon dies in the process, saying that the reason why a murderer like her would want to help them is because Incarmat is about to become perfect with her baby in her arms, and she wants Tanagaki to be able to see this. For a character who was such a harmful stereotype, Kano's final moments gave her some much needed development as she did good by helping Incarmat and Tanagaki escape. I'll hold my breath if she's dead or not till the anime is officially over, because other characters have survived way worse than this. But let's just say that if she is dead, Uniyama is not going to be happy, seeing how he hasn't gotten to sleep with Kano yet. So in the end, what did we learn from this episode? We learned that even AI humanoids can be queer, Gyarus are always the best characters, sometimes characters you wouldn't expect can have some redemption, anime twins are a whole breed in and of themselves, doesn't matter what gender you are as long as you can cook, anime women have the strongest of spines, and everybody needs a trans ant in their lives. Hey, I don't make the rules.